Hello Aurora lovers, I'm Dale Bone from Dale Bone Imaging, and this is Aurora Hunting 101. This is episode 12. What is the HPI? The HPI, or the Hemispheric Power Index, is the best predictor of the aurora that I have found. It updates in real time or near real time, but typically only predicts about 45 minutes into the future. It is the basis of the NOAA 30-minute forecast, which displays the predicted visibility of the aurora. This is also known as the oval. Let's take a look. There are a number of ways to get to the 30-minute forecast. I usually just Google Aurora 30-minute forecast, NOAA, something like that, and it will almost always find it. It's also on the Space Enthusiasts dashboard, which I've linked in previous episodes, but it's only got the northern hemisphere, so I thought I'd go to this one, which is the 30-minute forecast for both north and southern hemispheres. But it's the same graph. So if you want to play it, it usually takes a little while to load. I've got it preloaded here. The HPI is this number up in the upper right hand corner. You can see it goes up and down. This model is updated every 5 seconds. So you can see how much it's changing in real time. And it's got the lead time, and that is based on the wind speed, so that is approximately the time it takes for the solar wind to go from where it's measured at the satellite to the Earth and interact with the Earth's magnetic field. So that's your lead time for the forecast, and it varies based on the speed of the solar wind. The key one is this HPI. Like when I first started out or earlier, I used this all the time. Actually, I used to use the single version. There are some websites that just have the latest map on it, and I used to use that and then hit refresh over and over again to see if it was changing. This gives you, actually what it's showing you is the historical information, so that doesn't really help you too much, but it does give you an idea of what the trends are. If you're out in the field, that might take a little while longer to load. So what I tend to use now is Space Weather Live, and they have this nice graph of just the hemispheric powers for the northern and southern hemispheres. And you can see right now it is trending down. If you hover over it, it'll tell you the time and that power. Below it has got the most recent power update, so 20 gigawatts in the north and 21 in the south. They usually vary by 1 or 2. So that hemispheric power, the hemispheric power index, the HPI, whichever term you want to use, is calculated by NOAA based on, in part, this real-time solar wind information that's coming from the Discover satellite. So it's looking at the solar wind speed, which is fluctuating a little bit. As it goes up and down, that 45 minutes will go up and down. The density, how much material is in the solar wind, this is actually pretty low. It's not unusual for it to be in the tens or higher when, around 10, when it's generating reasonably bright aurora. The interplanetary magnetic field, how strong is the magnetic field out in space in between the Earth and the Sun, that is carried by the solar wind. It's the magic of moving electrical charges creates magnetic fields. Magnetic fields manipulate or affect moving charges, and you get an interplay between the charged particles on the solar wind and the sun's magnetic field, and it tends to pull it out into space bringing it into Earth. That affects how it interacts with the Earth's magnetic field, and the primary one of measurement for that is the BZ. I mentioned BZ a couple times, and the next episode is going to be on BZ. In general, a negative BZ is good. That allows more particles to enter the Earth's magnetic field, creating stronger and brighter aurora that's visible further south. That's a negative BZ is good. Positive BZ is bad. That tends to allow the particles in the solar wind to just pass and flow right past the Earth. Whenever we're looking for a strong aurora display, we're hoping for a negative BZ. This is not particularly negative. -10 is not unusual. The last big storm we had on April 23rd, the BZ was -30, and we got to KP8. And aurora was seen and photographed into the southern states, Arizona, Nevada, places like that don't see aurora very often. But all of this gets summarized into the HPA. I'm sure there's other information that goes into that. And then NOAA uses that to generate this model of where they think the aurora may be visible. As always, I will include the links to those sites in the notes. The HPI is one of the best predictors of the visibility of the aurora. It is based on real-time satellite measurements and predicts the strength of the aurora about 45 minutes into the future. As a very rough rule of thumb, I think of it as about 10 times the KP value. If you are in a KP4 region, I would wait until the HPI is 40. I'm in a KP3 region, I wait for the HPI to be above 30. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule, and there's no mathematical relationship between those two values. It's just a very rough rule of thumb that I find usually works. I do think it starts to break down once you get over KP5 and an HPI of 50. With that, please check out episode 13, What is the BZ? And I'm wishing you clear skies and happy hunting.